In the last lecture, we implemented a comparison program that take in two numbers and then compare whether these two numbers are equal to one another, whether they are not equal, and whether the one is greater than or less than or greater than or equals to or less than or equals to. And we have seen how to use if selection structure to actually test that comparison. Now we are going to continue with a selection control structure in this lecture proper. So since we have already seen how to implement single if selection structure in our comparison program in the previous lecture, now in this lecture we are going to continue with a double selection control structure. Now, a double selection control structure is a variation of the if single selection control structure. So, whereas the if selection control structure will test a single condition and then execute a statement based on whether that tested condition evaluated to true or false. Now, if the other one, double selection control structure, will actually test a condition, and if the condition fails, then if the condition tested true, then it's going to execute a statement, and if the condition fails, then it is going to execute another statement. So actually, it branches into two directions. So if the condition evaluated to true, execute a certain statement, and also if the condition fails, it is going to still proceed to execute another statement. So if the condition evaluated true, there is a statement to be executed, and also if the contested condition fails, there is still another statement to be executed. So let's see this practically. And to see this practically, we are going to implement a program that will take in a score, a student score, and then check to see whether the student has actually passed the test or he has failed the test. So let's assume that a teacher has given out a test to a student, and the pass score for the test is 50 marks. So if the student has scored more than 50, then he has passed. If he or she scored less than 50, then the student has failed. So let's proceed to implement this program. So I'm going to create a new file, Control N to create a new file, and then I'm going to go and save it as if.c. So I'm going to navigate to desktop, and then see where I have this, and the lectures where we normally put our lectures. So I'm going to implement it as if.c. So let me call it if.c. All right. So then I'm going to save it. All right, perfect. So now we can begin writing our code. So as usual, I'm going to write a comment if.c. All right, and then the program if double selection. So if selection. All right. So next we need to import our libraries. Import libraries, and then the library we are going to import is the standard input output library. So #include #include stdio.h, which is the library that has the input and the output, which is a basic library that have for performing input and output. All right. So the next thing, we are going to declare function main. So function main begins program execution. So function main begins program execution. All right. So we call it int main, and then within a parenthesis we write void, just as we have been doing before. Then we declare a brace. All right. So now the first thing that we are going to do, as usual, is variables declaration. So declare variable. And in this case, we are going to have only one variable, which is the score that the user of this program is going to enter. So I'm going to declare it as plot score. So we have performed variables declaration. Next, we are going to perform variable initialization. So initialize variables. So we have declared the variables. So next we initialize variables, okay, which is true by accepting the input. So accept score. Accept score. Okay, so now how are we going to accept score? We are going to prompt the user of this program to now enter the score. So we printf, print format, then we said enter the score, enter the score, and then the user of this program is going to enter the score. So after the user has entered the score, now we need to accept the score. So accept a school. Okay, so let me change this comment. Prompt for an input. Prompt for an input. So we're going to actually input a score for an input, right? So here we're going to enter the score. Okay, so make use of scanf function, and then percentage float. This is a floating point number as we have been doing before. Then we are going to make use of ampersand, a pointer to the variable score. Okay, so we have done that. So now at this moment, we have initialized the variable. The variable will now contain the value of the user of this program is going to enter for the score. Okay, so now we begin testing whether the student has actually passed the test or he has failed the test. We are going to ask if score is now greater than or equals to 50, because the first score is either 50 or greater than 50. So if the score is greater than 50, then we know that this student has passed this test. So we call it come here, and then we can now print format, and then we can say passed. And if the student has failed, then that is where we have the double selection. Now, because we have two conditions, either a pass or a failure, now we are now going to take care of the other condition, which is else. So we have else, and then also we have to declare a opening and closing brace, and then we are going to print out the other condition, the other statement, because if the student has not passed, then he has definitely failed. Then we are going to print out failed, right? So you can see how this if double selection control structure is. Now this is how it is. If the score is greater than or equals to 50, then we have 50 passed, and if otherwise, if it is not a pass, then it is a failure. Then we have end function main. Function main. All right, so perfect. So here we are. So we have, this is basically how if double selection construct structure looks like. So we are going to test for if the score for a condition. Then if this condition evaluated true, then the statement under the block we refer to whatsoever is contained within two opening an opening brace and a closing brace as a block. So this is a block. So whatsoever is contained, the statement contained within the if block is going to get executed, and otherwise, if the condition fails, then that is why we have the statement under the else block will now get executed. All right. So now let's save this and then go to the terminal, compile this program, and run this program. So I'm going to minimize this, and then I'm going to go to the terminal, and then let me clear the screen. Just so what? Right. So then navigate to the folder where we have this cd. Okay, so I'm going back 2 directions. Okay, so I'm going to lectures. Perfect. So let me clear the screen. So we have GCC, and then the name of the program is if, and then we want to output it out as if without the C extension. So I'm going to hit enter, and perfectly our program has compiled successfully. That means we don't have any errors. Now we are going to run the program, and then I'll just put a dot / as we have been doing before, if, and then I'm going to run it. So enter the score. So let's enter the score, something less than 50, 23, and we have failed. The student has failed. All right. So this is how we get printed. I can also go back to and then make improve the output, so that after printing failed, let's take after printing the statement, take the cursor to the next line, take the cursor to the next line. All right. So go back again to the terminal, and then recompile the program and run the program. I'm going to recompile the program again. So I'm going to run the program again. So run the program, enter the score 23, failed. Then we run the program again, enter the score, say 45, failed. Okay, enter the score, see 67 passed. So as you can see, our program is working perfectly. So we have seen if double selection control structure. Now in the next lecture we are going to see if multiple selection control structure. If multiple selection control structure.